Queen Mommy with Queen Mommy Fun Talks. Today, our guest is Dr. Lopamudra Das Rai. She is a distinguished cancer scientist, research professor. Dr. Das Rai received Award of Excellence for Humanitarian Service from Male Breast Cancer Coalition in US. She featured at Charlotte Lately magazine as one of the 31 influential women in the city, and her journey featured at Global Women's Summit, NYC, and Passion Pace and other magazines for her relentless work across the world in the field of cancer, felicitated globally for her amazing work, and featured as Best of 2020 East India cover story, recognized as the savior of women with breast cancer. Additionally, Universal Diplomatic Affairs of Human Rights in India in this pandemic time. Welcome, Mrs. Das.
Thank you so much, Soumeshri. I'm so humbled and honored to be here, and I'm all yours. And it's my privilege to share my journey, or I'm all yours.
Thank you so much. It's our pleasure too. Thank you so much because you are spending your valuable time for us and you're sharing your journey. Thanks a lot, and you're going to inspire a lot of people around. I hope all they get inspired and they start doing a lot of good things like you.
Oh, I get, I get little hearing all this, but I'm really thankful to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And how long you been in Charlotte or US?
Yeah, so very good question. So I'm in Charlotte since 2008. So before that, I was in Arizona. So in first place that I lived in the US is in Chicago. So and I never wanted to come to US. It was all because of my husband. I always wanted to stay close to my parents, my family, but it was his project because of which he had to come. And then I was doing my PhD at that time in India, and I was also working as a genetics lecturer of genetics at Garden City University in Bangalore. And when he had to come here, so basically I was here in Chicago, but then I had to go back to India to complete my PhD in genetics. And that's when I finished my PhD. And then from Chicago, he got moved to Arizona in Scottsdale. And that's when I went to Scottsdale, and over there I did my postdoctoral fellowship from Mayo Clinic School of Medicine in cancer immunology and breast and pancreatic cancer. So then eventually I came to North Carolina, and I was with the University of North Carolina at Charlotte as a research professor, and working till 2017, mentoring PhD students, having research projects, and working as a principal investigator. And yeah, it was a lot of research work. And
wow, nice, very nice. What a journey you have. You resigned for your job and you started doing this service, and what is service you are doing really amazes me a lot of times. You're such an inspirational for everyone. What is your inspiration?
My inspiration, I think, is my mom and dad and my grandfather, because I come from a family of physicians. So my grandfather was a doctor, my father was a pediatrician, and I lost my father in 2020. But Shri, like even the day he service to mankind is the greatest worship to God. So so I think that always stayed in me. And growing up, I have seen, like, within our house in the dining table, it would be always about the patients, and how we can help them. It was never the financial, or never the discussion about like how we can earn money. So that, I think, imbibed in me. And I would always see my mother also, like she had to resign her job as a professor in a college for me and my brother, because my dad would be so busy, and my grandfather too. And I never had a grandmother, because my grandmother passed away when my dad was just 7 year old. My uncle was 2 year old. So when my mom was married, and she had to take care of the family, and then she was working, but then she gave up everything for us. And but then eventually, as we started to grow up, she started to do a lot of social service and trying to make other women independent, with her services, whatever way she could do. So I think those are the ways I felt that, I think they are my biggest inspiration, Shri. So I think, and that's the reason why it was not an easy decision for me either in 2017 to resign from a job like that. And I was also doing my MBA from Northwestern Kellogg School of Management. So I think disciplinary effect that kind of, affected me so much. And when I told that to the class, I got such overwhelming support, and you build that impetus. I came back, so my classes would be in Chicago. I came back in Charlotte, and I told my husband that I really want to do this. And he said, yeah, of course, you have a job, do it, and you can start a nonprofit. But this never happened, Shri, because having this full time job, and also one day I decided if I keep thinking about my career, I can never do this. So I took this decision. But when I took this decision, my father told me, even my husband, that if you are starting a nonprofit, you know the meaning of it, right? You cannot take a single penny from people's donation. I said, no, I'll never do that. So that's the reason why I know other nonprofits, people take the salary, the founder take it, the CEO take it, but I always made it a point that everything I will do is, free of cost, and I will not take it.
That's true. That's so wise decision you took on that time. Wow, nobody. I don't even do it for myself. I can tell I don't have that kind hearted for sure. I don't resign my job and do a service. And before that, I'm so sorry about your loss in this year. We missed a really great person around us actually. And about your mom, Rita Das, I think, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And she is also running a Sharada mission, I heard. Can you
Yeah.
tell about her? Because I know whole family is dedicated for social service. It's not so easy at all. I mean, especially in this 2020, not a year 2020, in this time of busy schedules for everyone. Everybody needs money, of course. Nobody we can just survive. It can be only then done in stories or anything.
No, I think my mom is she is now the president in the regional Ram Krishna Mission Sharadas. So they do a lot of community outreaches, and also her dad actually, my maternal side grandfather, he started in I think 1999 a ladies group organization. So like so that you can make other women independent, like who are very underprivileged. So my mom is now, like after my dad, we lost my dad. So now she's spending most of the time, making arts, and like, she's very good. She's totally opposite me. I'm so bad with stitching and all of that. And she's very good with stitching and then painting, pot painting, or like making cake and all of this. So she's kind of like doing all of that so that we can generate revenue for these women who are else making a platform for them so that they can give their products and they can become like savalambi, we say, right, independent. So I think I'm really and I can see the smile on her face in this distress also, and she's so happy, and I think that keeps her going now, and I'm so proud of her for sure about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we are also so proud of her, and she raised such a amazing person like you. That's really great. And I want to add here 2 cents of mine. You are such a great. I know closely you by doing this in this pandemic work only, that masks and everything. So you are not just like that. I mean, in the stitching, all those stuff also you are there. I mean, you did a very tremendous job. It was
No,
not
you are
small
not
project.
nothing in front of your stitching, Shri. Like I would be.
No, we can stitch. I mean, a lot of people can stitch, I think, but the team moving and the support, everybody, you need to coordinate with each
Yeah.
and every person, and you are coming to their house and you're dropping the material and you're taking care of they are sanitized well, because in this pandemic, we don't want to get into the trouble.
Right,
And
right.
still you are helping to the health line. It was not really so easy job. I mean, just
No,
kudos to
thank,
you.
no,
I
thank you,
really
Shri.
appreciate that. And
I'm
it was
so
not a
humbled.
small project. I forgot the number. How many masks?
I think it was 1,545 masks made in just 35 plus days, and we donated to, I think, more than 26 or 27 organizations. And I could do that. I mean, I know I had sleepless nights, and you know that, like the way it was coordinating and doing everything, but it's all because of how the Charlotte community, women, the children, everyone came forward, Shri. Like you all came forward. So this couldn't have been done without that. And that's why you remember our tagline we had is, together we are one mask making team, and we create magic. So that was the magic that's created. Yeah.
Yeah, the pillar was you for sure for that, and we all just joined you, our hands to support you, and you did really amazing.
And that's how I got to know such amazing women in Charlotte, like you and others.
Yeah, one more thing. Usually, a lot of people they say cancer comes from the genetics. Do you think is it true? Because I really don't know about that. Is it from genetics or some other problem?
Very good question. So I get it all the time in all the sessions that I cover. So 5 to 10% of cancer is genetic. That means it can come because of mutation in the gene that we inherit. For example, if we take the case of breast cancer, here, Angelina Jolie, right? And how, like, the Hollywood actress. So what she did was her mom, her aunt, they all had breast cancer. So she did a genetic testing, which we call as BRCA mutation, BRCA1, BRCA2. And because of, as a prevention, then she did her mastectomy, that means removal of the breast. So the reason why I always say that if any type of cancer runs in your family, please let us know so that we can run a genetic testing if it is affordable for the family, like if we can afford it, because genetic testings are also like pretty expensive. But if any type of cancer runs in the family, we have to be very careful. We have to be on top of it. But other than that, 90% of the cancer anyone can have. It can happen to any of us. It's very random, even if we do not have it in our family. And nowadays, there can be many factors, Shri. Like, for example, just recently I posted an infographics on it, an informational card. So we post all the educational materials on our website, and anyone can go and download it. Everything is free of cost. You just have to download and circulate. So the different factors that we see is these days is lifestyle. Like the stress is a master regulator. It triggers a lot of inflammation in the body. Inflammation is another factor. Or if we have any other diseases which causes underlying inflammation, it kind of leads to the chronic inflammation can trigger even the carcinogenic pathways also. The exercise, a lot of times we are in a sedentary job, and then I always tell everyone that even if you do not get time to go out, you don't have to go out and take a walk. You can do what you love to do. If you want to dance, you can dance, and then create more family time. So lifestyle is very important. Diet plays a very important role. The water we are drinking, the contaminants in the water, then also like the radiation or the pollution in the environment, everything plays a role. So basically, what I always tell everyone is that if we can control what is in our capacity, that will definitely help us, because our body, if we are actually inheriting certain mutations, our body is already susceptible. So we have to avoid the carcinogens, and this is in our environment and through lifestyle. And number one carcinogen that I tell everyone is tobacco. 30 to 50% of cancers can be prevented with healthy lifestyle, healthy diet, taking care of the workplace, making sure that we are not exposed to the radiation. But tobacco is a number one player. Smoking, we always think that smoking actually is only related to lungs. That's not the case. Smoking actually can cause cancer even in other parts of the body. Even we can be susceptible to breast cancer. Then tobacco chewing, how in India we chew the tobacco, that is causing an increase in the oral cancer, in the esophageal cancer, stomach cancer. So it's not only restricted to only few areas. So if we can actually put a pause on the tobacco products, that is the number one carcinogen, and that will be like a trigger factor for so many types of cancer. And even with the alcohol also, like not
in India especially these days they are doing the youth or teens, or they started different generation, but the older generation, they never used to smoke or drink much. I mean, in the ladies especially. So is it still the same case with the ladies, or
Yeah. So in the older generation, right, we have lot of breast cancer too. But what I have seen, many cases they have been into the tobacco chewing products also,
Okay,
or so
okay.
many, and then sometimes it can be just the age, right? So it's kind
Mhm.
of like breast cancer, because 1 out of 8 women can get breast cancer. This is the statistics in the US. It is so common. But in India, like we say, it's 1 out of 13. But the women, a lot of times, like whoever, like I interview the older women, I interview women all across the world, so that I can capture the reality. And most of the time, if I go a little bit deeper, that at one time, for women, for them the health is the least priority, Shri. For the that
That's
always the family comes first, what the kids are doing, they will make food for their husband. Health is the least priority. So
especially
for
for
them,
Desi moms, I can say
yes,
definitely.
but yeah, and then even like they would be, what they're eating, they won't even realize. Do they ever properly exercise also? But they are equally involved in, and a lot of women also are going outside the house now. Even the older women, that many women I know, they were working women in their 60s, in their 50s, and the stress they go through, they're going through pollution, they're going through different efforts, plus they're not eating as healthy as they should be eating.
Absolutely true. For the Desi moms, especially, we've always run behind our husbands and kids and the parents, grandparents, whoever we have, we need to take care for them first priority. I'm not saying that's bad, but at least we are trying to learn. If we are happy, we can keep our surroundings happy and we can keep our family healthy, more healthy. So how this kind of stuff can be notified in early stages? I mean, this is like,
Absolutely.
it's kind of a taboo, they call. Probably they don't want to talk about breast anymore, like in
Yeah.
front of anyone. They feel so much of shy or something.
Yeah.
Because maybe our generation is a little better. At least we are trying to talk and learn those things and everything.
Yeah.
But how can we, in early stages especially,
Yeah.
how can we know?
No, very thoughtful question, Shri, because that is what I'm trying to do, right? Since 2017, we have saved more than 5,000 women by helping them to be detected early. So what
Wow.
happened was, when I decided that, okay, I'm going to do this. So my first thought was, if I'm going to, so my plan is to start with India, right? So in 2017, when I thought that in 2018, I had to go to India, to different places, and do the community outreach. Like, women will not come to us. We have to go and do the population outreach. So you tell me, Shri, like the screening, the breast cancer screening is mammogram, which is after 40. After 40, we are supposed to do a screening mammogram. Screening means when we are not having any concerns in the breast. That means it's the screening mammogram. But your mom, my mom, aunt, and everyone, they all are above 40. But did they ever go for screening mammogram, which is an X-ray of the breast or an ultrasound of the breast? We would prefer to spend that amount. Even if we give free mammogram, also women will not go, because it's the culture-induced inertia. We do not want to go and like do this kind of screening process. Even in the US, younger women are also getting breast cancer. In the US, the doctors do clinical breast exam. When we go for a physical, doctors will do the clinical breast exam, right? In India, I spoke to many doctors, but they always mention that it's like, even the female doctor said, if we are going for some other issues, or if we are going for a stomach problem, the woman will say, why are you touching my breast? Nothing is wrong in my breast. And the male doctors will say that it's a big, like, okay, it's a huge deal that I have come for some other concern and you are trying to examine my breast. So what I did was, I felt that, okay, doctors do clinical breast exams, so why don't we teach the women breast self-examination in the correct protocol? So that's why I collaborated with Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute and Male Breast Cancer Coalition, because the other way to break the taboo was bring men into picture. Because first time, I think we are the first organization who always have a blue touch in our ribbon in the logo.
That's
Because
true.
We always think it's for ladies and only pink. Yeah.
so we always work with men and women. And what I did was, we worked with the oncologist, breast oncologist, and we kind of developed this card, which is a single stop. And we taught, like, exactly the pictures. Even those who do not know to read and write, by pictures, they can understand how to do the breast self examination. Then how to do it, the correct protocol, like post 7 days post menstrual cycle. For women with menopause, we have to pick a date in the month. For men, we have to pick a date in the month. And then exactly, I teach everyone whenever I'm doing virtual session or community outreach and how to do it, collarbone, underarm, everything. Now, when I decided that I'm going to do this, my first thought was I brought a simple solution, Shri. But then my first thought was in India, if I'm going to a village and giving it out in English, it will never work, right? Because we need the local language, and that's when BCH volunteers stepped in. We now have it in 21 languages and 12 Indian languages. And then as it worked like wonders because Google Translator, we do not believe in that. So I created small groups of different languages. They helped in translation. So for example, when I go to Hyderabad, I'm giving it out in the slum area also, in the urban area also. I'm giving it out in Telugu and in Urdu. So when I'm going into Chennai, I'm giving it out in Tamil. So it works and everyone loves it. Even the urban India women love it. Because even my educated friends also, they don't go for screening all the time. But then what I do is I take accountability. Everyone has my WhatsApp number and email address. It's not that, I should be just going and giving lecture and giving out this, right? In the villages, I teach their small kids. I teach them that you have to read, because that is local language. You have to read the local language to your mom and dad. And they love it because I give responsibility to the kids. If any issues, the organizer will reach out to me on WhatsApp, or if they have their own phone, they will reach out to me. I will navigate them towards the healthcare center. I will do follow up, discuss what is actually happening, give the scientific analysis, and also we create where I have
one-on-one conversations you do with the patient.
I do everything that I will navigate them. That you have to, like, for example, if they're from Kachar or someone say go to Kachar Cancer Hospital, then we will do a follow-up that if they're getting treatment or not. Because those who are below poverty line, they have the Atal Amrit Abhiyan card. The government will help with the financial status. But even for these people to go to the hospital, they don't have money at times. So that's when, like everything we try to provide. And even the treatment aid also, like our revenue is not much really. Like you see that I never do any, like I'm very hesitant about that part too, but I feel that people will see the work, they'll believe in us, they come forward, and that's how we are sustaining. So while doing that, last year, what happened, not last, 2019, when I was in Assam, southern Assam, after one of the sessions, one girl started to cry. And I went and asked, what happened? Why are you crying? She said, why didn't you come to my village last year in 2018? My mother just died, and she was just an 18-year-old girl because she was so shy to talk about it and she did not know. So another problem that we face is that ignorance. It's not only the taboo. Women are not even aware that a painless or painful lump or any discharge from the breast could be cancer. So, like that's why we have to translate the information. So this girl, I told her that I could not save your mom, but no other moms will die from your village. And that's how we started to adopt the villages for door-to-door cancer screening. And we collaborated with the hospital, like the cancer hospital. We take the suspicious cases, like every day, like we are going door to door. So now I think
So, how many villages have you adopted until now?
I started from 2020 February, and then from 2000, now this is January, 11 revenue villages. 11
Wow.
villages. So, and it's working. I mean, I'm so blessed that we have field workers, project coordinators. I'm coordinating with them every day, talking to them. Any suspicious cases, they will let me know. I will also check their reports, and I'm also talking with the hospital. Like, so Kachar Cancer Hospital, the director is Padma Shri recipient, Dr. Ravi Kannan. So when I went, so he was also my dad's friend. And then when I went last year, I met him. So he also knows about it. So we have a card generated for breast cancer heart patients. So they know that they are from us, and they will also make sure that everything is taken care. And for these patients also, Shri, like as I told you, during COVID also we did the door-to-door screening.
I was seeing all time your social activities, Instagram, everything. You're always active, and some other villages are getting some groceries, food, and you are helping with that also. Not only with the hospitality, you guys are really doing great job. But I just want to ask one more, because these lot of people or really not ready to go to and get the screening. So is there any way, if they feel I'm something wrong with my breast, so should I really go and check? I should be concerned, I should go to doctor, or how is it gonna know? They can know in the home?
Yeah, that is the breast self examination. You can, because from the age of 17, because the screening starts, mammogram is after 43. So I tell everyone, every girl from the age of 17, they need to start doing breast self examination. Why? Because you have to understand the look and the feel of your breast. Then only we can detect the abnormality. For example, like how many pimples I have, right? How do I know? Because I'm checking all the time, right? In the same way, we have to know how our breast looks and feels like. So this is the protocol. Now, so basically, if you want, I can just explain in a brief way. So we take our hand behind our head in a sitting and sleeping position with 3 fingers from the collarbone. We go from top to bottom like this, and then full breast, even the underarm, because there are lymph nodes here which we cannot miss. And any discharge from the breast, any redness around the breast, like anything like a pitted skin or skin of the orange, then inverted nipple, any bloody discharge, any white discharge, transparent discharge, then if you see any of that, and while doing the examination, if you feel anything like a marble or mustard cyst, do not panic. 95% it will not be cancer, but we cannot ignore that. So wait for 5 to 10 days. If it doesn't dissolve, that's the reason why I always say do it post 7 days post your menstrual cycle. Like if my cycle starts today, do it on the 7th day, because a lot of time, because of the hormonal changes during menstrual cycle, there may be some lump, but it will dissolve. But in case if it's not dissolving, immediately we have to go to the doctor. And we have to tell the doctor that please do a screening mammogram or an ultrasound. Now, mammogram also can miss tumors if we have dense breast, and that I always put it out on social media, because so many lives we saved after we posted all of this, or after the awareness session that I have been doing. Because Indian women, we have 60% of us, we have dense breast. So even when we have dense breast, the tumor can get camouflage. That means it's kind of like a background, white background, and the tumor also appears as white on an X-ray. It kind of doesn't get detected. So what I say is you have to be so knowledgeable. If you feel the lump, you have to go to the doctor, take an appointment with your primary care, tell the doctor that I need a mammogram. Once you have your mammogram, you ask your doctor, do I have dense breast? If yes, then tell your doctor, I need an additional ultrasound. And in Charlotte now, most of the time we are doing 3D mammogram, which is already an advanced form of mammogram. But in India, that's not the case, right? So in India, I always tell everyone that please go and advocate for your mammogram. And if you have dense breast, an ultrasound. So it's always better to be safe than sorry.
So in these days, we are using different type of clothing and push-up bras or whatever it is. Is that gonna hurt them, or is that gonna lead to something, this kind of stuff, or it's just like myth?
That's a very good question, Shri. Now, what happens is that, see, when we have cancer, right, in the breast, we do not have that data, because the doctors are not asking us that, do you ever wear push-up bra, or do you wear ring, the ring, the wired bra, or all of that, right? But I always, so that's why we do not know what is the correct answer. But what I always tell everyone is, in the night, we really, really need to keep it in circulation. That means it's better to keep it free, and then also not to keep it too constricted. I mean, always wear a bra which is not so tight, because there are lymph nodes here, there are lymph vessels here. You do not want to constrict the blood flow.
Usually these days trends are going like a corset or push-ups, trends are fashionable trends are going on. So
as long as we make sure that it's not too tight, it's not affecting, it's not paining, because you don't want to constrict any of the vessels out there, for sure.
And I heard one more thing you did 2 years back, the youngest scientist cancer made. That was a huge success. I heard a lot about it, and you did with mostly around all ages, from the kids, from 42 teens were there, I think.
From 6th year to undergrad.
Oh my God, wow. 42 tweens. It's not easy, not a
Wow,
member.
Shri, I'm amazed by the way you have, okay, thank you so much for asking. So Okay, so here also I faced lot of, so it's not that everything I've been doing didn't face any challenges, right? So
Of
many
course.
feedback I got, like, okay, my kids, you are making them talk about breast. You know? So my my own, so what I did was, what I felt, Shri, was that, to bring a change in the community, to bring a change, we have to change the mindset of the kids. So I always involve the students. There are two things, Shri. One thing is that I really want to help the students with their career, because every experience with BCH will count for their school application. That was always in their mind, how I can give back to the community also, for the kids also, with their career graph. But I had another reason, was I wanted to inculcate the art of scientific thinking and thought leadership. I wanted the students to understand that how lifestyle, how different type of cancers, how smoking, because they are the youngsters, right? They can go and talk to their family.
That's
Because
correct.
now about breast cancer, everyone, there were like more than 500 people in the on the meet actually who came. So many people came and told me that I didn't know that smoking causes bladder cancer. This team of like 14-year-old, they're talking about, how smoking can affect the bladder and all of that. So I was so proud of everyone, like, and the way they took it forward. So that is my dream, that every kid should understand the early detection and prevention of cancer, so that no lives we have to lose because of breast cancer or any type of cancer, Shri. That's why I started to involve the kids. And I think it was
Kids,
because of,
they have a lot of more knowledge. I mean, they need to learn because they need to pass on to their next
yes,
generation,
yes,
and they have unique style of thinking ways also,
yes, yes.
maybe
And
to
then, well,
implement.
first time, how I thought about it, Shri, it was like my son Agastya, he was 5 year old. And when I, so no, why? So when he was 7, so I started, so he's now 10. So it was 3 year back, I started, it's 4 year now with breast cancer. But when he was 5 year old, a long time back, and he's now 10. So I was telling him about the private parts of the body, right? You should not talk about breast and all of that. Like the way kids grow up, we always say. So one of my friends came to my house and she was asking, and I was with UNCC at that time and working with the breast cancer cells. And she was asking, Lopa, how is your work going? I said, my breast cancer cells are not growing. My breast cancer, I kept saying. So she left. So Agastya comes to me and said, Mama, you are very bad. You said bad word all the time and you told me not to say that bad word. I said, what bad word? He said, you said breast. And I said, oh my God, that's where we make the mistake. That's when I said it is an organ. Breast, because of the breast milk, gives the best immunity. And my father always spoke about breast milk because he was a pediatrician. So I said that was the main thing. People are so hesitant to talk about it. So all the students now, the boys and girls with all my BCH small kids and who are like even the big kids, they all are openly talking, doing outreaches, discussing about breast self examination, telling everyone that you need to do BSc. And even like that's the proudest moment, Shri. So in the all the booths that I have, I make the students to be the leaders. They execute it. So this kind of like the leadership role also I'm trying to give them, so that they understand the responsibility, how they can serve the community. So if anyone wants to come to me to volunteer, I always say you should not come because your parents are pushing you. You need to know that you have to have that passion within you, and then only you come. But I'm so
Usually,
proud.
lot of people, I mean, when it comes to your son also or anybody, they all think breast cancer is only for women, not for men. Is it true? Just I know it, but I just want to hear from
It is not
Professor.
true. It is not true, Shri. So that's the saddest part, because with men, the situation is worse than women. Men feel it's a woman's disease, and that's why they are more shy to talk about it. And mostly, late detection is more prevalent in the US with the men. So
Realizing it, they are affected already. So, what are the consequences? What are the side effects they're gonna
side
have?
effects means they will. So what happens is the tumor, right? So I'll tell you this example. I went to Chennai in 2019. I did this session. One man came for his sister. She was having breast cancer. Then he found, so he saw my slides where I show all the men with breast cancer who are patients or survivors. And then he comes to me afterwards and he tells me, can you check my nipple area? So there was a drop-like a lump under the nipple. And we saved him, because he came for the session. So he had no idea that this was breast cancer. So men totally ignore it. With men also, it's the same signs and symptoms as women. There can be discharge, but with men, mostly the lump is under the nipple area. And then what happens is if we ignore it, then from the primary tumor, so when it appears in the breast, right, that is, we call it as primary breast cancer. But if we just leave it like that, then through circulation, the cancer cells will go to the different parts of the body. So when it goes to the bones or the liver and lung, we call it stage 4 breast cancer. So when for the men and the women, so from stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, till stage 3 we can save them. But when it goes to stage 4, means the cancer had spread to the different parts of the body. It becomes very difficult to cure cancer at that time. So that is the most important thing. So for men also, they need to check themselves from the age of 17 to 18. Unfortunately, for men, we do not have any screening mammogram routine. But even when men can feel the lump for any discharge, they have to go through the mammogram, the X-ray of the breast, and then they have to do a biopsy of the lump and then check if it is cancer or not. Because if we wait for too long, we have lost so many lives all across the world with breast cancer in men equally, so it's very important to take care of that.
Super awesome information you just gave us, and really nice. If anybody helps, that's really awesome. We're gonna post all your details or down your website, everything in the description box. They can go and check out. If somebody wants to reach out to you, they can reach out anytime. I think you will be
Absolutely.
available.
I'm always, yeah.
Such a kind-hearted I ever met. Yes, you guys can reach out anytime, Dr. Lopa, and. Let's get into our next segment that's called as a Chichugudlu. That is like a firecrackers. We call it in Telugu, Chichugudlu. But this is kind of like a internet said so. Kind of a whatever the things in internet saying, is it true or no, or an opinion, whatever your opinion you can just share with us. Okay, let's go with... They says breast cancer has been called the nun's disease because of highness of nun's effect. Is that true?
It is called what? Sorry.
Nuns, N-U-N-S, nun's disease.
I read it somewhere. It's called, no, it's not at all true. It happens to everyone and anyone in the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
be restricted to only the nun, that's very sad. And I know why they say it, because the nuns are not married, right? So that means they are not breastfeeding. So everything they connect it like that. But there are so many moms who have breastfed, they still get breast cancer.
Right? Yes. The one more thing, breast cancer occurs in both dogs and cats. It tends to be far more aggressive in cats. Is that true?
I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. I have to look it up. But, like all the, that cannot be true. I don't know what the vets are going to say about it, because I work with the human scenario. And also, but all the experiments, Shri, we do is in the transgenic model, but we do it in the mice, the transgenic model of the mice, which mimic the mammalian system. So I know that in the mice it is aggressive, but it depends on the type of the breast cancer type also. So we cannot be prejudiced that cats will be always having that. It depends upon the type.
But according to this, even animals also can get breast cancer, right?
Absolutely. We do all the work in the transgenic model of mice. So they all can get that.
And I saw one more thing. This was interesting for me. Wasp dung was used as a treatment for breast cancer in early days.
What was so no, this is like, it is all experimental phase. I also read those articles, but so what is happening is that particular wasp, this thing, it is not approved or anything.
So thing I heard, breast cancer is more common in the left breast than the right. Is it true?
No, it's not, because I hear it. I get this question all the time. So, like lot of times they say it is, but like the women I am meeting now, like everyone mostly they are having in their right breast. So how do we determine that, right? So it's so, this, even if the data is a published data, I would not believe it 100%, because I'm meeting women with breast cancer and that is in the right breast. So how do we justify that?
That's true.
No, I wouldn't say, I don't know, maybe, that so depends on the cohort. Like, where you are getting the study from. Maybe they did this study in this population where it was more on the breast. So they cannot be wrong either. But we cannot be all the time declaring it because, with research, it has a progression. Like we are finding something now, we are working more and we will find something more in additional, right? So that's why it's always a progressive way of thinking with the research part.
That's good. That's good. Good to know all those things. And yeah, hold on. Hey, actually, here my granny is there. She just want to say hi to you,
Ah,
and she wants to talk a minute. Is that okay with you?
yeah. Wow.
She is really old. She's very old. I need to go and bring her. Is that okay if you hold for a
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna bring her right in.
Wow, I'm so
Hello, Haji. How are you? Namaste doing. I
I'm
know
doing good.
little bit only English. My granddaughter is teaching me little English. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, Granny. You look chala boundy.
ఓ మీకు తెలుగు కూడా వచ్చా అమ్మా
Acha, kunja kunja.
ఓ నమస్కారం అమ్మా
Namaskaram.
మీరు చాలా మంచి పనులు చేస్తున్నారు యు ఆర్ డూయింగ్ వెరీ గుడ్ కీప్ ఆన్ డూయింగ్ మై ఆల్ బ్లెస్సింగ్స్ టు యూ గాడ్ బ్లెస్సింగ్స్ టు యూ
Thank you. Thank you so much. Means a lot to me, Shri. Granny Shri, sorry.
You quit the job and you started serving for community. How you can do that? Your husband was okay?
Grandma, no, don't ask all those questions.
No, he's still not okay. He's still not okay.
How
Yeah,
are
it
you
was-
managing then?
It's not easy. So yeah, that's a grand question, like dhamaka question. So my husband still like tells me that he's still in shock that I actually did that when he's paying my MBA loan and all of that. But I think Granny Shri, the best part is that I made it very transparent with my kids that your mama will not buy any more gifts. We have to curtail a lot of things, and I think it's a big support from them, and they're so sweet, and they were like and they never do so, even they became more careful now. Even I think that because they now see like where I'm going in the villages or everywhere, how I'm trying to help, and even the patients, right, interaction, they're hearing it all the time. And even the late detection, they will send me reports or the treatment aid that we are doing, so they actually see where what I'm trying to do. So that's why they understand me, Shri. And it was not easy. I face criticism even today. Like a lot of people tell me that your kids are going to grow up, they're going to blame you because you were supposed to earn for them, for help. But and a lot of time I face this, like I'm travel all alone in India, in the commute, in all the local transport commute, because I can't afford this anything. So everything is like a bus where no AC, nothing. So it's a safety issue also, right? So that part also my husband gets very mad at me, but he kind of knows that he tells me like I've become like sand, he's not able to control me. So I think because we love each other so much that we met when we were in college. So we I supported him all the time and throughout, and now he's supporting me. And financially, definitely we have all restricted ourselves, so we know our and but that's the reason I think. And I don't, for me, I'm getting food to eat, I have clothes to wear, and I don't need anything else, right? So but definitely, Shri, one thing that I felt was I was always financially independent. Even my PhD, I did a scholarship, I was never dependent, so it was not easy for me either, right? I mean, to but I had to shed my ego. I had to say, okay, this is not about me anymore. It has to be about others, right? When I'm stepping into it, I think that helped me to know my boundaries, and how I will enact to it. Even if a lot of people say, even if my husband says, okay, I'm like, okay, My dad always said, if you want to do something, have deaf ear and your vision should be right there. So I think that's how I am. But I could not have done this without my husband's support, though I have to hear her sometimes, but it's okay. Yeah.
I saw your dad. He was a very handsome man over there. I wished I met him once. He was such a great person. He was a
And
great
he would
person.
have been mesmerized by your beauty too, Granny Shri. He would not have seen such a beautiful granny ever.
Thank you so much. Thank you. When you go to India, how you manage? You are helping all the old people like me. All their wishes are with you, but how you are managed?
Like I always stay in people's house. Even when I'm going in villages, I'll be like because I will be like little bit of okay, I have to stay somewhere, so can I stay at your house? And they'll be like, yes, of course. So I think that works. A lot of times people reach out to help. Also, they'll say, yeah, yeah, please stay in our house, and with and the commute and all is all minimal expenses that I incur, so that I can I can work towards it. And but I think it's people's love and affection. Even like even in when I was in Cuddalore, also in Chennai, like 4 hours. So then we rented some vehicle and all of that somehow, or that the bus, train services are also there. So I kind of like have become. I know how I kind of do a homework first, like from here to there, how to go. I will call the organizers. I will ask them that, okay, what is the commute, like how long does it take? And one thing is that every time I reached before time, because I'm very punctual, and I would be like, if the session is at outreach is at 11, I'll reach at 10:50 for sure. And then they'll be like, you are early. I said, no, I'm right on time. Because in India, when we have the community, they'll slowly come. And like except I think the way I did it in 2018 was that I would spread the word in my network of Indian friends that if we can do an outreach. So I would talk to everyone, the organizers. Lot of times the Rotary Club also organizes, or local non-profit organizations, they will organize. So then they organize, I go and do the outreaches, give the breast self exam card, teach them how to do it, and also talk about the preventive measures and give my contact. So they come back to me if anyone has issues, right? That's how eventually I did more than 140 outreaches in India, in different parts of India. Last year was all virtual. Virtual was like now, I think it's across the globe because of COVID. Everyone got used to Zoom. So a lot of virtual sessions I have been doing. So it really worked very well. And now from Breast Cancer Hub, we have different branches called BCH Wings Cancer Hub. So we have stomach cancer hub, colon cancer hub, oral cancer hub. Because when we started to do the outreach, right, there were so many patients reaching out to me with different cancers. Even from Charlotte, we have stomach cancer hub in Raghu's honor. Actually, he's from Hyderabad only. I started stomach cancer hub because I was meeting him and then helping him out. And that's when we realized that it's so much needed other type of cancers too. So that's how we have been expanding in that ground also with different type of cancer. Yeah.
So how somebody is saving money, Lord? You are saving people, Lord. God bless you, my child. God bless you.
Thank you.
What
Thank you
about
so
your children? What do you like to eat? Do you cook nicely?
Grandma, she cooks very well. You don't need to ask those questions.
much. Okay, cooking is like I love to cook, so but I don't get the time to do like elaborate any more cooking. But I make my own spices at home, and my husband is also equally a very good cook. But all my experiment is in cooking. My kids, though they're 9 and 10 year old, so I do not let them be in device as much, like technology. Like their school, anyways, they're doing on technology. So even when I'm cooking, I'll make them help me in the kitchen. So they know like ginger also they will help to grate, and everything fresh. The spices also I'll grind it. It just takes 1 minute to grind and I will make it. So it's not that every day I'm cooking. Like right now I'm talking to you. I know my husband is cooking and my kids are helping him, right? So whoever gets the chance, we will go and cook. So it's like that. But cooking, I love to cook. So that is
That's official signature item. Queen cooking.
in cooking. Yeah. So my kids tell me that they love my basil salmon, garlic basil salmon. That is my signature for them.
Stop asking questions now. She already said her husband is cooking. She let her go and join him too, okay?
Thank you so very much. Thank you. My granddaughter is calling me. I'll just leave. Okay. God
Okay.
bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. It was so good meeting you, Granny Shri. I love the Granny Shri version.
That was my granny Lopaji. Hope she didn't trouble you much, and thank you very much for coming here and spending your valuable time and guiding us and inspiring more people to do a lot of great things towards society. It's
Thank you so much, Shri. It was so wonderful talking to you, and thanks for the amazing questions. And I'm so grateful to be here. And please subscribe to Queen Mommy Talk. And it's an amazing channel, and I'm so proud of you for this initiative that you have taken for all the moms out there, and you are an inspiration for all of us.
thank you very much, and we wish you all the very success in your life. Thank you.